Hello everyone, today's video is going to be about me talking a little bit more in depth about my miscarriage of my fraternal twins. I'm going to go into a lot of detail and I might even add in a few photos of blood, so trigger warning. This is about miscarriage and there will be photos of blood. By the way, I'm so sorry, I look tragic. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the very start. My boyfriend and I found out first, obviously, that I was pregnant. I found out I was pregnant on the 30th of June. I took a pregnancy test and I was like, okay, what the fuck? I was pretty scared. And then I took another one a few days later on like the 2nd of June. Oh, 2nd of July. And that's how I knew that I was definitely pregnant. I hadn't told anyone yet. I just kept it to myself because I told Coast. But yeah, I pretty much just kept it between me and Coast because I was scared. Like, I was just scared of what everyone was gonna think. I had a feeling my mum might be disappointed in me. Yeah, it was scary. I was very scared. Then the first person I believe I told was Ty. So he freaked out. He was very scared. Like, we were both like, oh my god, shit. We know what the consequences are when you have intercourse without a condom. So it's on us, it's on us. So yeah, it was quite unexpected and we were just very shocked.
Hi, I'm editing right now, but I just want to add in, like, I totally forgot to mention this at all, but after like the first time me and Ty slept with each other and had sex, I took a morning after pill. And once I took that morning after pill, I bled for a good week, but it didn't work and I was pregnant.
Pretty much as soon as I found out. So when I found out I was pregnant, I was probably about 4 weeks pregnant. Literally as soon as I found out, the next day I started having morning sickness. The morning sickness was so bad from the very beginning. I literally could not eat. I would wake up and just start gagging. This was all while looking after a toddler, living at home with my mum and just trying to act fine. Like, I was trying to act like I was okay and not sick or anything. So I was like pretending to try and eat, and if I would eat, I'd probably vomit afterwards when she went to work or something. So I was trying to keep it a secret because I was scared. I was very scared. It was about maybe 4 days later, my morning sickness was just horrendous, so bad that I was like, I can't do this, like I have to tell my mum. So I was sitting in bed with my mum one morning and I just said to her, Mum, you're gonna be really angry. She's like, why? What have you done? And I just said, I'm pregnant and I don't feel well. I'm so sick right now. Look, I'm crying. So yeah, I just told her that I was pregnant and I was worried and I was just really unwell and I was really struggling to look after Coast. I could barely get out of bed, I could not eat, I couldn't feel my body, so it made it very hard to look after Coast. And I just told her because I needed her help. My mum is my best friend, she's literally my best friend, but I still struggle to tell her things that I think she might be disappointed in me about. So she got angry, but then she also cried and then she got excited, and then we both sat there and were like, oh my god, what if I was having twins? Like, imagine having 3 babies all under the age of 2. Holy shit. And we were just joking here and there, we were just like, oh my god, yeah, twins would be just so funny. So yeah, after a little bit she calmed down and we were fine. From there, I think a couple of days later, so that was on the 6th of July that I told my mum. Then a few days later was my birthday. Oh no, we went out for dinner. So on the 8th of July, so my birthday's the 9th of July, and on the 8th of July I went out to dinner with my friends. And when we went out to dinner, we ordered a huge platter and I was obviously so sick. I could like barely even eat any of the food. I didn't tell any of my friends yet because I wanted to keep it a little bit of a secret because, you know, 4 weeks pregnant, you kind of don't know if like you're gonna be okay, if the baby's gonna be okay, sort of thing. So I just, yeah, it was quiet, and I just like nibbled away at a few chips trying to make it look like I was eating food. And like, I didn't think that any of my friends noticed, but apparently my friend Haley and Brooke did kind of notice apparently. Then the next day was the 9th of July, my birthday, and I went up to Auckland for my birthday, and I was very obviously still sick. I don't know how much I can explain that my morning sickness was bad from 4 weeks pregnant. It was bad. I went up to Auckland for my birthday. I went and stayed at Ty's house the first night, and then the second night on the 10th of July, the day after my birthday, I went and stayed at a hotel, like apartment, with my friends, and my brother and Ty stayed as well. And we went to Deep Heart and Funky, a concert. So that night I hadn't told any of my friends, so nobody knew. I didn't tell my brother, they didn't know. So Ty was the only one obviously that knew that I was pregnant, and he just like knew that I wasn't well, and the only thing I could eat and the only thing I felt like was fruit. Like, I just could not really eat anything else. I thought of food would just not be nice, so I'd just be sitting there like eating grapes, and all my friends, everyone thought that I was drinking that night, but I wasn't drinking. I had 0% alcohol Pals. You can get the Pals 0% alcohol drinks, and so I had those, and it looked like I was drinking, and no one knew that I wasn't actually drunk. I was sober as hell. After that weekend I came back home, I think it was, and then on the Monday I just was not feeling good. Like, I was really not good. My body like felt like I had the flu. It felt like the flu, but I didn't have like any like blocked nose or like symptoms like that. My body was just like, I was so shaky. My body was literally shaking so much. I had hot and cold sweats, so I'd be freezing and then I'd be like hot, really hot with sweats. My body was very achy, and that night I started getting really bad cramps, like horrendous cramps. I woke up and there was a lot of blood in my underwear and on my pad. I think I had a pad on, yeah, and I was bleeding a lot, and I think there was quite a big clot as well that came out. Anyway, I was still shaking like crazy. I think that day, so I went up to the hospital, because I think when you do have a miscarriage you should go up to the hospital just to get checked. Went up to the hospital and they took blood tests, gave me some liquid, what do you call it? I don't know. Anyway, they had like an IV line in me, and so yeah, I had to have lots of blood tests, and they kind of just said, yeah, I think it's the beginning of a miscarriage. And I was just like, okay. It was hard in the beginning, we're just like, alright. So I called Ty, told Ty, I think I'm having a miscarriage. The doctors up at the hospital also said, go for a scan tomorrow, and just kind of see, just check if the babies are coming away from the uterus and away from like the placenta sort of thing. I don't know if I'm saying this right, I don't really know medical terms. So I told Ty, I think I'm having a miscarriage, I'm going to get a scan tomorrow to kind of see what is going on. That's when, so we went into get the scan done. Oh yeah, that day, once I had gone home, I was shaking like crazy. No one knew why I was shaking that much, but I was shaking. I was like this, and I was in a lot of pain. My whole body was just aching, and I was in a lot of pain. I couldn't control myself from shaking, and I wasn't well. I was very unwell. So my mum and I went and got a scan done. I think we left Coast with my sister at home, or my brother, can't remember. But yeah, we went and got the scan done together, and we're in there, and I was laying there like literally on the bed like this, like shaking, like having a seizure. And she was scanning me, and she was like, oh, there's one healthy baby right here. And we're like, what? How? Like, I just bleed so much. How is there a baby still in there? And then she moves over, and I see on the screen, I'm just watching the screen, I was like, oh. And my mum's like, what? And the lady looked at me, I'm like, oh, is that twins? And she's like, yes, it looks to me that you are having twins. She's like, there are 2 healthy babies in there, both hearts beating at a good rate, and they were happy just chilling in there. And I was just very confused. I was laying there still shaking like crazy. I was almost crying. I think I was crying. My mum was crying and she was like, holy frick, like, we jinxed it. We said that there would be twins. We were having that yarn in bed that morning when I told her I was pregnant, and we're just like, holy shit, I jinxed it. I said that there would be twins, and there was twins in there. So after that bleeding that night and after being at the hospital, there was still 2 healthy babies in there, and they were fraternal twins. I'll post a picture right here, and they are my fraternal now angel babies. This photo was taken at 6 weeks gestation, so I must have found out that I was pregnant at around 5 weeks. I went home after that scan, still very unwell, very shaky, just not good. I was not in a good state. I was very, very unwell. Pretty much I went to bed once Coast had gone to bed. I went straight to bed. I called Ty actually while I was in bed, and I said, you're gonna be fucking, like, I know I just told you that I had a miscarriage, but turns out it's not a miscarriage, we're actually having twins. From there onwards, it was kind of just an emotional, traumatic roller coaster. I think it's the most hardest thing I have ever been through. After a wee while, we got excited. Okay, we're having babies, we're having twins. What can we name them? What will they look like? What will their personalities be like? We just kind of got used to the fact that we were having babies together. I continued to bleed, and it wasn't like a lot of blood. Like sometimes it would be a lot of blood, like a normal period, and then sometimes it was just like watery, yuck, sort of like leakage. Like it was just weird, like it was coming from like the uterus sort of thing. Like I don't really know, but yeah, it was strange. I just continued to bleed. I continued to have really, really, really bad morning sickness, couldn't eat. I lost a lot of weight. I became very skinny, very frail, very pale as well, and just very unwell. I just continued to cramp a bit, and just, yeah, it would bleed. I'd have to change my pads regularly, to the hospital at least, I think once a week for about 5 weeks. So this continued on for a long time. No one really gave me answers. Nobody really helped me, you know. I would be bleeding a shit ton. I think I went up to the hospital one day and I was bleeding a lot. They would just sit me in the waiting room, and I know there's probably other people who were like more important, but I was losing a lot of blood. I wasn't just losing a little bit, I was losing a lot, and I explained that to them multiple times. And like if you're filling more than 2 pads per hour, you probably should be seen quicker than they think, or we think, I don't know. But yeah, I was filling pads very, very fast. I was bleeding. I was sitting in the waiting room and I'd have to run to the bathroom. I'd be vomiting and I could barely hold myself up, and nobody could help me. My mum was at home babysitting Coast, and Ty couldn't really come down because he was working every night, because he lived in Auckland at that time and I lived in Rotorua. I think about maybe the third time, maybe second time I went into hospital because of the amount of bleeding and cramping I was having. They said, okay, go for a scan tomorrow, we'll refer you for another scan. So I went in for a scan, and that's when I found out that I lost one of the twins. So I lost, I believe, one of the twins, I think about 7 weeks gestation. I can't remember exactly. And it was hard because we had just wrapped our heads around the fact that we were having twins. And you kind of just, you know, you get excited. Even though it's a shock in the beginning, you get excited. And the other one was sitting in there healthy. So I guess that just kept me going, knowing that there was still one baby in there healthy. It just gave me motivation and encouragement to just keep, you know, trying. keeping myself, you know, like healthy and everything, and just, yeah. From there, I was still bleeding. As I said, it would be on and off. It was like watery, then it was like a normal period, and then it was just, yeah, it was crazy. I think one night, oh yeah, me and my mum went to like Taupo holiday resort, and there's a nice pool there, and I couldn't really go swimming much because of the amount of blood, like I was bleeding out. We got back from the holiday resort, and I think that night, once we got back, I started getting excruciating pain again. I was sitting on the couch and I went to stand up, and then it felt like my water's breaking. I think this was like 2 weeks later, yeah. Yeah, I stood up and it just felt like my waters were breaking. A huge gush just came out, and it was a lot of blood. It was so much blood. I have not even experienced that amount of blood in my life. To sit in the bathtub, and I was just bleeding. There was a lot of blood. There wasn't really many clots. It was just blood. And my mum was freaking out. She was like, okay, this is not normal. We need to get you to the hospital. So I had to call my friend. Coast was in bed by this time. It was about like 8 o'clock at night. Called my friend Hayley, and she came over to watch Coast while he was sleeping, and my mum took me up to the hospital. Yeah, and so we stayed up there, and again they just kind of said, obviously we think you're miscarrying, can't really do much about it, and they pretty much sent me home. I was there for like hours and hours and hours. Then I probably went up there for another 2 weeks. I was just bleeding, like I think, yeah, from there they sent me for another scan the next day, and that's when I found out once again that I lost the second baby. So this was at about 9 weeks gestation that I lost baby number 2. It was pretty sad because I think after like 9 weeks, I feel like I kind of expected it to happen because of how sick I was, how unwell I was. But I didn't think it would happen. I then continued to bleed for weeks after that. Like it was probably another 3-4 weeks. I was literally soaking so many pads a day, and nobody really did anything. I asked my doctors, I went up to the hospital. I was up in hospital freaking once a week, every single week. They put IV lines in me, and they just gave me fluids and took blood tests, but I just continued to bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed. They kept saying, oh yeah, it's probably just the parts of the baby still coming away, and from there, usually if there's still stuff in your uterus, bits just stuff in your uterus from the babies, they're supposed to do something kind of about it. They're supposed to give you a D&C operation, or I think medication to help bring all of that away. And it's supposed to be gone in about maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. But I continued to bleed. I was bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding for weeks and weeks. I would hop out of the shower. I'm going to insert a photo here of me bleeding. I would hop out of the shower, and this is what it would be like every time I hopped out of the shower. I literally would have to grab a towel straight away and put it there to stop it from coming out, to stop the blood from coming out. Because as soon as I would step, like as soon as I hopped in the shower, it'd be bucket loads of freaking blood coming out, and then I'd hop out of the shower and it'd be all over my bathroom floor, all over the shower mat, the bath mat. I just couldn't stop bleeding. I was bleeding so much. Then one weekend my grandma came down from Whangarei, and she obviously knew about my miscarriage because my mum told her everything that had happened. So thankful that she was down there at this time. We were sitting down having some dinner, and I started getting contractions, like horrible contractions. Like they weren't just period cramps. It was worse than when I gave birth to Coast. I was just standing there like in so much pain. I had to even get up and lean against the bench and move side to side, and I was in so much pain. I then went and sat on the toilet, and just a whole more load of blood just came out, and I was just sitting there in excruciating pain, and I needed help, man. my mum was like, nah, I've had enough, you need to go up to the hospital. So this time she called the ambulance, and that's when things actually got better from there. So the ambulance rushed, came and got me and took me up to the hospital. After that, it's like they only just noticed it, and they're like, oh, your blood is like, what was it called, your blood rate, your heart rate, I don't know, but I had lost so much blood that they were actually really concerned of how much blood I lost. So I had to stay in the hospital for 2 nights. Once I first got there, one of the nurses, so what they did was put some pills, a few pills up my vagina. Those pills are supposed to soften your cervix and maybe help the rest of the stuff that's up inside your uterus come away. Apparently that didn't work, so then I had to be taken in for an operation the next day. I had a D&C operation. This is the meaning of a D&C operation. I was about to try and explain it, but I don't even know if I'm honest. Yeah, so I went in for a D&C operation. They put you under general anesthesia, I think that's what you call it, when you get knocked out and you go to sleep. And then they put this like suction thing up your vagina and go into your uterus and suck out all the rest of the parts, like the blood, the clots, all the baby sort of thing, and just get it all out and empty your uterus. Pretty much, yeah, after that operation the bleeding had stopped. Like 2 hours after that operation I wasn't bleeding anymore. That's all I needed from the start, not from the very start obviously. Once I lost the babies, that's obviously what I needed. I needed to have that D&C operation straight away, but nobody really cared to even offer that operation to me. After the operation I had to have multiple blood transfusions because of the amount of blood that I lost, and iron transfusions because I was very pale, and yeah, just no strength. I was very fatigued and I just could barely even walk. I was so dizzy. I guess I don't really talk about my miscarriage. I find it hard to talk to people about it because I don't like showing that I'm weak, and I need to understand that I'm not weak though for talking about it. But I struggle really to talk to my mum about it, and I want to sit down and cry. I want to cry about it, but I haven't really cried about it. I want to be able to talk to my mum and tell her that this sucks, man. Losing a baby sucks. And Ty knows that I'm hurting. Ty's so supportive. I just haven't processed it. Nobody can prepare you for this hurt. You find out you're pregnant and you're shocked or you're excited or whatever, and then you blame yourself. And I have blamed myself for so long for failing to look after my babies. And I was so sick. I was so morning sick, and I just wanted it to be worth it in the end. They give you a date that your babies are going to be born, and you just look forward to that. And now when it comes to that date next year, I'm going to be sad. Nobody prepares you for the hurt, and just nobody prepares you for a miscarriage. That is my story, a bit more in depth about my fraternal twins, my angel babies. And I hope this helps you guys to maybe open up about your experiences if you've gone through a similar thing. And I'm so sorry if you guys have been through anything similar. It's not easy to go through this sort of thing. No one deserves it. No one deserves to feel this sort of pain.